possess? What skills do you have to show? How much do you want this job? Bow down, now beg, now go. You need to complete this form. Convince me you're the right man. What have you got that's useful? I shrugged and stood and ran. Experience, you need experience, and no, you won't get it from me. You need to smarten up your act. I said, I know, I see. Tell me why I should pick you. What makes you stand from the crowd? Are you ready to commit your future? I cried, I begged and I bowed. I'd lost the job by the morning, 3 more by the end of the day. I tried, but I kept on failing, so bowed and begged and then slipped away. Where are you going? Said my father. Where are you going? Said my son. Put one foot in front of the other. Don't bow, don't beg, don't run. The last room was musty, cold, barbaric. I thought the fella dead, but I was candidate number 10. Sit down, the dead man said. Your name? It's Joe. Joe what? It's the face with peeling skin. Joe Bamborough, and I'm from a little place, and my mum's just brought me in. A little place? Did he write it down? Did he think that's where I lived? For my village had a name, I said, and a post office, and a pub, and a gift. And he flickered to life, a spark in his eyes, and I sensed an interest there, as if another interview might kill him in his chair. It's Mr. Deacon, you see. He's got the gift. He's a man of mysterious ways. The dead man shifted in his seat, his pen dropping from the page. As the tale of Mr. Deacon, a man of the little place, poured across the table from my young and panicked face. Do you like cats? I asked the dead man, his eyes now looking at me. Because I've got a tale so twisted and bleak that your mind will never be free. Go on, said the dead man, the blood in his veins, moving and shifting, loose and untamed, pulling him out of the darkest of wells, where questions repeat and answer themselves, where the threat of a story, a tale of the dark, had moved him to open part of his heart, had awakened a ghost of a man he once knew, did more than sit and judge and review. Tell me a story, the dead man gasped, the breath in his lungs almost his last. Give me a reason, put forth your claim, for you're 10 in 100 and it's raining again. So I banged on the table, catching my wrists, and told him a tale that started like this. 2 feral cats on the most putrid of nights, curled up in straw in a barn in the heights, on the borders of a village known as the place, little itself but full of disgrace. A place where the future deigns to ignore, for fear must start somewhere like the seas of a core, and a place known as Little, with its few feral beasts, was as potent as any where the dark placed its feet. And in the night never ending, amidst the howls and the screams, 2 feral cats made babies, it seems. Babies that grew to have babies themselves, till the cats ruled the pastures and the church rang its bells. 1 ring for danger, 2 for the threat, 3 for the passing, and 4 for regret. For now that the cloud of cats was so large, they'd taken to eating the men in their charge. And not just the men of the place known as Little, but those in the graves, bones black and brittle, till the church in its eaves looked down upon an impressionist painting of the Battle of the Somme, where holes in their bodies littered the field, cats on the rampage, bodies their meal. No, said the dead man, that cannot be true. Cats don't eat humans, they don't eat me and you. Cats are soft creatures, soft to the touch, with delicate features, not cannibalistic lust. They don't eat each other, I had to point out, wanting to ask what the job was about. Is it in sales? I've done a spreadsheet before. But he hushed my request, aching for more. Mr. Deacon, he said, what was his gift? Did the cats kill him too? Please tell me this. So I put down my folder of printed CVs that held all my life with a notion of ease, and spat forth my tale of rampaging cats. And yes, Mr. Deacon, we'll get to that. Now the cats scourged the place we all knew as Little, as fresh-faced for blood as the first morning ripple of the tide of the moon chasing the sun, brushing the days as the nightmares could come. People were pulled from their holes in the ground, some of them dead, others alive, till the bells in the church had none left to ring, and the choir in the chapel had nothing to sing, and the few who survived had little hope left and waited alone, waited for death. Curled up in houses, bolted and shut as the cats beat the door, desperate with lust. Lust for the bodies breathing inside, laid on their haunches and oh so alive, Fresh meat is better, the cats would all cry, as the first window broke and they all rushed inside. And as house after house fell to their will, life seemed to sharpen and steady until one house was left in the place I call home. The house of the deacons, though he lived alone. High on a hill in a thicket of trees, growing his crops and tending his bees, selling his honey, £2 a jar, eggs by the dozen, £1.84. The cats killed the chickens and harassed his bees, who stung in defence but fell to their knees, till all that was left was a blue-bolted door, a man on one side, the cats on all fours, ready to charge the last of their prey, for even the dead had fallen that day. But just as they moved, as the paws left the ground, out came the gift Mr. Deacon had found. Out came the magic, the moment of truth, the cusp of the story, loud and uncouth. Out came a can about 10 inches high, hitting the earth with a yawn and a sigh, stilling the cats for a second of thought of what was amongst them. What had it brought? Then out of the mouth of the can in the yard, a yellowish smoke with a haunting facade, travelling slow, a cautious attack, catching the cats from the front and the back, eating their eyes and stretching their skin, blisters are forming, then bursting on in, catching their throats with bramble and thorn, unsteady of breath like baby just born, dying as one as the mustard seed cloud, gift from the past, cast in a shroud. Hundreds it caught, for hours on end, scraping the place clean, clean to the fens, the fields and meadows of the little place lie where the cats had all eaten and lay down to die. And all of this watched by the simplest of men, a man of the fields and meadows and fens, a man who survived the cruelest of nights, where the dead lay in dozens stripped of their rights, where the death of the many had born on a day, cats in the straw, cats in the hay, cats in the graveyard, cats ringing bells, and old Mr. Deacon throwing them shells to kill off the glory, to kill off the pain, so the dead could be buried again and again. I ended my tale, shifted my chair, the dead man awake, but not really there. He was dreaming of soldiers, of cats and of graves, the smoke getting closer, not fading away. He was dreaming of drowning in an air thick and gold, sent by a man outrageously old. Mr. Deacon the Capular, who tended his bees, brought half the world down to their knees.